Hello everyone, my name is Colleen and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm working on a corn salsa because I have an abundance of tomatoes that I need to get taken care of. So I am going through that process today. So the recipe for this is pretty simple. You don't require a lot of ingredients, but you do need to have approximately 5 pounds of good ripe tomatoes. And I'm using romas, and I'm squeezing quite a bit of the juice and seeds out of them. I've put them in a hot water bath on the stove in this hot back here, and then into the sink in the cold water to stop them from cooking so that the skins would slip really easily on them. And I have got that here in the background, this bowl full of tomatoes that have had the skin slipped off, and I've squeezed out quite a bit of the juice and the pulp. So I'm just going to go ahead and chop these now into small pieces so that they are easy to use in a salsa. I made this recipe recently with friends, and we had a great visit, and they brought over a gift, the jalapenos that went into the salsa we made that day, as well as left some behind. And they may have been small, but they were very, very powerful. So I'm not sure that this particular bit of salsa won't have a bit of heat in it. Well, I have worked my way through the 5 pounds of tomatoes, and in the pot I intend to cook them in, I measured 12 cups, so that's about how many you're going to need, is about 12 cups of tomatoes that have been chopped. I did remove a few of the harder core parts that run down the center of the tomato, and I took a lot of the juice and the seeds out. So we're to that point. I'm going to add to that 1 large chopped onion and 2 small jalapenos that pack a heck of a punch. Now you could also add more if you like. It's not something that I desire to do. If I were making it for someone in the family who enjoyed that more, that's what I would do. And then I didn't have a bunch of fresh cilantro, so I'm using some dried, about what would be about a bunch. I think it's around 3 tablespoons, and I think that should work okay because it'll rehydrate as we cook it. And 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm working with pink Himalayan salt here, but any pickling salt that you're happy with would work. I checked this out, and the only ingredients in this is salt. There's no anti-clumping agents or anything, so I think it should be fine. And a ½ cup of lime juice. This just is the only acidity that's going to come into this, so it's important to make sure that you have high acid juice, and I take it out of the containers, the real lemon juice that you buy at the grocery store prepared, because tomatoes and limes are not necessarily high enough in acidity, so this has been corrected to be what we need for this recipe. And I'm going to just let that sit for a minute while I take the corn off the cob. And this is a bit of a task, but it's not so bad. I just use an angel food pan and put the one end in the pan, and for the most part the little kernels land in the pan. And I'm going to be cautious not to get too close to the core because we don't need, you know, those sharp edges on them. You could do something different here. You could actually add frozen corn to it because it hasn't been cooked and it holds its shape really well. The only thing is I would recommend then to buy good brand and not maybe the store brand, because I have noticed that if you're buying cheaper corn in the bag, that they do get really close to the core, and that's not very pleasant for what we're doing. So you can go through these pretty quickly. I'm just doing 3 ears, and then they'll go into the pot with the tomatoes and the other things that are in there, and we'll put them onto the stove, and we'll bring it to a boil, and we'll simmer it. The whole process will simmer for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and fill the jars. Well, here I am back. We have had this lovely looking corn chowder on the stove, brought it to a boil, and then turned it down to a simmer, and it's been going for about 10 minutes, and I've just removed it from the stove. I have my clean, fresh washed jars holding in the sink of hot water, and I have my hot rings right here. I'm just going to take them off the stove. Hopefully that doesn't steam up that too much. And then I'm going to start filling jars. So this process will go reasonably quickly. And it truly is a really yummy recipe, so don't be afraid to give it a try. And as you can see, there's not a lot of ingredients or a lot of work involved. You don't have to take the skins off the tomatoes, that's entirely up to you. I did because I don't like those skins in my mouth, but you certainly don't have to do that. I'm going to wipe the rim of the jar. And on goes the fresh the seal. A hot, fresh seal. And a ring. Fingertip tight, ready to go in the canner. And I'll repeat this process until they're all done. So I managed to get 7 pints out of this batch, and there's a little bit left, not a half a cup left in the container. And I'm really pleased with the way it turned out, and I think you would be too. I'm just going to drop it into the water bath canner, and I'm going to can it in there for 15 minutes, and then it will be ready for labeling and going into the cupboard. I'm really happy that you joined me here today, and I hope that you are all well and safe, and I will see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.